Home. Chapter 24. A Miraculous Ladybug Fanfiction written and narrated by Mira Rose. Artwork provided by XAA. You can find a link to the artist's Tumblr in the description box. If you haven't already, make sure to give this video a thumbs up and leave a comment in the comment section. If you don't know what to comment potential boyfriend in the comments section. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to this channel to stay up to date on the latest parts of your favorite fanfiction, just like this one, and hit the bell so that you get notified when I update. Now then, Chapter 24. Adrien aggressed as Cat Noir. Cat snuck another silent glance at Marinette, who seemed more occupied with her thoughts than she was with spending time with him. Had this date been a bust after all? He was bad at this. He should have consoled Alia first, and not just because she's Marinette's best friend. Well, one of her best friends. He secretly hoped she thought of him as a best friend, too. It'd be cool if she started thinking of him as a potential boyfriend, too. As the silence grew heavier with each step they took toward her home, Cat felt the prickle of sweat under his armpits and on the back of his collar. Yikes. Perhaps this was a bad idea. He'd wolfed down 5 sandwiches in front of her like a dog. He couldn't blame her if she lost interest. But surely she wouldn't hold that against him. Right? Right? Are you down for a switch game, or... Cat began, feeling bad about trying to invite himself in, but knowing he didn't want to end things here for the day. "You're Adrien aggressed!" Marinette blurted out, keeping her eyes forward and slapping a hand over her mouth. She slid her other hand out from his to cover her eyes. She figured it out? Before Ladybug did? That's impressive. Okay. It was the only response he could come up with. Yep, that was him. Adrien aggressed, Masked Edition. Sorry. I know I shouldn't know. And, well, me being me, I just had to say it. Ugh. Sorry, I shouldn't have said anything. Marinette rambled, clearly embarrassed for herself. But her words faded out as he realized the weight of them. Marinette knew he was Adrien. That he, Adrien, tried to be her friend by playing dress-up. That he, Adrien, had a girlfriend but still asked her on a date. That he, Adrien, could only send dry text when she talked to him over the last week. That he, Adrien, was known for a cringe-worthy crush of the century on Ladybug. Oh, Camembert. No wonder she'd been quiet. That girlfriend thing, he said, unable to look at her. That was surely what she was most upset about, right? It's fake. Huh? She looked up at him, then away. Oh, right. You already have a girlfriend. For the publicity. We don't like each other or anything. We're planning a breakup 6 months down the road. Ah. Ugh, Camembert. This wasn't a good sign. And she hadn't made a move to go upstairs either. It would be weird for him to go. Sucking air through his teeth, Cat put a hand on her shoulder. So, did I earn a second date? Her eyes met his. Adrien aggressed is asking me on a date? Marinette's face was still pink. No, Cat Noir, Charmboyan, Paris's vigilante hero is. Forget that Adrien kid. I heard he washes his hair way too often, and his dad kind of sucks. She didn't laugh at his remark, leaving him feeling a bit silly and like he should apologize for some reason. I think I need some time to think, Marinette exhaled, leading him to the conclusion he dreaded. Marinette was disappointed he was Adrien aggressed. Yikes. Feeling his heart fall, he wrapped his arms around her, sweeping Marinette into his chest. She lifted hers in surprise, choosing to settle them on the middle of his back gently. Pulling himself away, Cat gave her a modest wink and a pat on the shoulder before taking his leave, heartbeat pounding from a different emotion than he was used to feeling when he left the Duping-Chang residence. Cat Noir was scared. Not in the physical sense, of course, but he was scared of losing his relationship with Marinette. After all this, he'd be the fool. But what could he do? Try harder? He didn't want her to think of him as a stalker. No. Despite his yearning, Cat would wait for Marinette to reach out to him. He didn't want to be another creepy guy stereotype. He was fond of saying "m'lady," after all. Pacing his bedroom floor, Adrien had a one-way conversation with Plague as the Kwame enjoyed some camembert. He was hunkering it down quite impressively. Adrien didn't voice his usual concerns, as Plague must not have had any camembert this past week. A check-in with Natalie came and went, as he insisted he wanted time alone to practice piano, and Adrien found himself bored and overthinking. That seemed to be a common theme when he had a crush nowadays, didn't it? He was tempted to text Marinette, despite his resolution an hour earlier, but thankfully had enough restraint to stop himself from doing so. The last thing he needed was for her not to respond and feel even worse about it. Instead, he plopped on his bed and mindlessly scrolled through social media, letting the hours numb his brain as Plague held an eating contest with himself. Adrien also decided to forego dinner. He'd had 5 sandwiches and was more than stuffed at the cost of showing off. Hopefully it hadn't disgusted her, but he couldn't think about it right now. He'd just keep thinking in circles if he did. What he needed was a plan. Yes, a plan. A plan to woo Marinette. Actually, no. Wooing wasn't his priority. He needed a plan to stay her friend. Yes, a friendship plan. He could worry about romance later. But after a half hour of staring at a blank piece of paper on his bed, Adrien was no further than when he began. Falling onto his back, Adrien grabbed a pillow and screamed, kicking his legs and not caring the paper got crinkled in the process. He didn't scream just once, either. Oh, no. Adrien screamed and rolled, then screamed and rolled. Thank Camembert his bedroom was so big, else he'd have earned a check-in from Natalie. Is this a bad time? Who? Adrien looked up from his pillow, damp from his scream spit, to see Ladybug standing by the couch, showing a toothful smile that looked like it belonged on a pained expression. Great. Now he embarrassed himself in front of Ladybug, too. Hopefully disappointing the girls in his life didn't become a habit. Wait. Ladybug? Adrien bolted upright, face red and clutching the pillow to his chest. Ladybug was here. In his bedroom. Looking at him. She even saw him scream like a lunatic. Oh, Camembert! His only saving grace was that she didn't know he was Cat Noir. He didn't realize she wouldn't put it together, but now he was grateful for it. if she knew he was Cat Noir, he'd probably die of embarrassment. Thank you so much for listening. Chapter 25 is on its way. In the meantime, you can check out other videos on this channel for more Miraculous Ladybug fanfiction. And if you are still listening to hear if I give you a comment of the day, you're right. Guess what it is? Is this a bad time? I'll catch you in the next one.